performance of their obligations under the contract. However, if they have performed their positive and negative covenants, and the loss is due to normal commercial losses in the project, genuine losses, then this should be borne by the investors. In the case of investment agency, 100% by the investors. In the case of musyarakah, proportionately between the partners. In the case of mudarabah, 100% by the investors. Okay, so this cannot be considered or classified as event of default. In most documents, I would advise this to be under termination event. So if you fail to meet the expected return, this will terminate the investment arrangement, and we will recover whatever we have. Okay, but you cannot say it's a default in that sense, because there's no profit anyway to be shared. On the issue of having incentive in the case of excess and top-up mechanism in the case of shortfall, I think this have been discussed in the IIUM Syariah Board, I think back in 2007, and finally they come up with the pronouncement in early 2008 that the mudarib, the sharik, the partner, and the investment agent cannot promise to top up the shortfall in the profit to the investors, because this will make the investment equity contract very much like the normal fixed income thing. On the giving incentive in the case of excess, there's no prohibition, but normally it comes together, because if you top up when there's shortfall, then if there's excess, you should take the incentive. So when the top up mechanism is not allowed, then I'm not sure whether the incentive can still work or not. And the other thing is, the IIUM pronouncement did not prohibit top-up mechanism with third parties. Okay, if you remember, Nazir Ahmad suggested you can have, let's say, another community murabaha with third parties in order to top up. That should be okay with third parties, but not directly with your partner or your agent for the investment. Okay, I hope I've answered your question. Okay, now coming back to loss of job. Okay, whether that would be categorized as a person under financial hardship or not. Then this one you have to look at also the assets that the person have. Okay, a person may not have a job but has assets that can generate income. Okay, let's say you have investments in funds and things that can continue to give you returns. So it's not just a matter of losing job, then definitely you come under the category of mu'sir. You have to look at other type of assets owned by the person as well. Although losing of job is one of the perhaps indicator to support that you may be in categorized under the financial hardship category. Yes. Okay, I saw the hand just now.
Engku. My name is Muhammad Ismail Sharif. I'm a lawyer. Now I've got two questions. One arises from your presentation just now. The other one is something that you have not touched on. The first one is regarding rescheduling or restructuring. That is normally done to assist the client to get over his problem. Now, I understand the Sharia position that if you extend time, you cannot ask for more payment. That's true, that is riba. But then we have got a practical problem here. If that is the position, the banks have got an obligation to their shareholders, who may be ordinary people like us. We have invested in shares in the bank and so on. So if they are not able to get any additional payment from these people, the tendency would be to go for, to terminate the agreement and to take civil action, which will lead ultimately to bankruptcy proceedings. Now that may not be in the interest of the customer. He may say, okay, look, I've got this problem. I need time to tide over this problem. Give me time. But I'm willing to pay you, compensate you for the extra time that you are giving me. But if the thing is that you cannot ask for more payment, then the bank would seem to have no option but to proceed with legal proceedings. So is there any way in Sharia to allow for this additional payment to be made, so that the requirement of the customer can be met? At the same time, the bank's requirement also will be met. That's the first question. The second one is regarding, interest on judgment sums. For judgment sums, of course, in conventional banking, if there is a judgment awarded by the court, then the court awards interest at a certain rate. Now, if there is an Islamic financing matter, and that is judgment awarded to the bank, technically the bank is kept out of its money for the period until it receives payment. So is it legitimate for the court to award not interest but some form of compensation at a certain rate so that it will compensate the bank for being kept out of its money during the period when it is has not received the money? I understand Bank Negara has sort of authorized the imposition of this, I don't know what you call it, but compensation. Some ta'weed, of course, we know that is while the thing is on. Whether that is allowed in Sharia, strictly speaking, or whether under any other principle that may be justified. Thank you very much.
For your second question on the award of interest on judgment sum, this one, as you have mentioned, has been deliberated by the SAC because of referral by the industry that when the court award a judgment sum in their favor, they have difficulties to actually get the customer to pay, because if they do not get any award on the judgment sum by the court, the customers would have less incentive to pay, because they know nothing will increase. Okay, so basically the SAC have made a ruling that the authority, whether the judge or the central bank, even any authority, can impose any amount that they think is necessary to, to push the person to pay. Okay, necessary, whatever rate that they think is okay for them to pay. At that time when we were discussing, is the 8% under rule of High Court. But for the bank would still have to treat the payment within the concept of ta'weed or gharamah. So basically, let's say the court still decide to award the 8% to make sure that the customer has the incentive to pay on time. So the bank cannot earn any of this 8% except for the actual loss, which the central bank is now determining at the Islamic interbank money market rate, overnight rate. So that is for the one that the bank can earn. Okay, so let's say it's 3%, then they can only earn 3%. The remaining is still considered as gharamah that has to be channeled to charity approved by the central bank. Okay, so that means we still treat the award that the court give within the framework of either ta'weed or gharamah. You can only earn the one for compensation for your actual cost, and the rest would have to go to charity under the gharamah principle. Okay, I hope I've answered your question on that one. Okay, now for the first question, this is actually the dilemma, because the position of the Sharia is clear. You extend the time, you cannot charge extra, because that is the essence of riba. Okay, if you want to go around and want to still have the extra charge, you can have that by entering into the contracts and whatever. You can have a Ba'al-Inah contract, you can have sale and lease back contract, you can have commodity murabahah contract. But does it meet the whole spirit of the prohibition? Okay, that's an important question that you need to look at. Because when you see when the bank is not making, when the payment is not performing, and you are trying to help the customer, okay, so help should be given within the framework of the Sharia itself. You cannot charge extra. So when you try to charge extra by going through the various other routes, that is where the problem lies. And I was mentioning just now a few examples given by the scholars with regards to this, and I've given the examples of what they consider as okay. You can pay